All right, hi. This is my first commentary track, and so this is for my first film, actually, World War Brown, Saving Brown's Privates. So originally the title was just World War Brown. Then we made more of them, and we figured, yeah, let's add a title, Saving Brown's Privates. So yeah, this is obviously Gmod. That was a lot of fun to do. Now this coming up here where it says yesterday, that was parroting something from a Sonic game. I forgot which one. But they said like tomorrow or something, and I thought it was funny. So Troy in this, Troy Lucardi, he plays the secretary. He, I told him to wear a suit, and the only suit he had was that Attack on Titan outfit. So that's why that's that. This speech here is kind of like stilted on purpose, and the reason why is because keep in mind this was a government class project, and we had to explain what the three branches of government were. So saying crap actually got me in trouble. Of all the things in this, it was me saying crap that kind of made my teacher mad. As for my voice, I don't know where I got the voice from specifically, but my mannerisms were very influenced by Gary Oldman's performance in Leon the Professional, which is that's still one of my favorite. The piece of parchment that I'm holding, that's a replica of the Declaration of Independence, actually, and I kept it folded up all the time, so it was like impossible to keep straight. This was ad-libbed by Joshua Tesler, who plays Downtown Brown. And honestly, Tesler, so he was a good friend of mine. He still is, but he graduated actually, so it was kind of funny to bring him back here. And I just kind of did it. Like, he doesn't really look like Downtown Brown. Downtown Brown's supposed to be our actual government teacher. He like vaguely resembles him, but all I gotta say, his like mannerism, he got really well actually. We didn't know this was going to be sped up, so yeah, I had a different editor. I was not my own editor yet. Nice continuity error there. Yeah, so I wasn't my own editor, so that was kind of... You could see my real glasses on the table, actually. So there's actually quite a few editing errors in this that kind of piss me off every time I rewatch it. And I'll point them out when they happen. The editor and I are not on... Oh, yeah, you like the keyboard. The editor and I are not... the editor will not mind if I speak ill, because we're not really connected anymore. So I'm just going to refer to the editor as this, like, dubious entity, basically. I like the like, crossfades, though. Those are pretty cool. I didn't know they were going to be edited like that, but it works. I told him to like really act this scene, like look like he's kind of worried, and he did a good job selling it, Troy, actually. I played many roles in this. Yeah, those are my real glasses on the table there. I played many roles in this, and here comes one. This was a really, like, we really coordinated this. So Tesla actually used to be a wrestler for the high school. That's an inflatable beard I got from some prank kits. And that's a marching band hat that I got from a thrift shop or something. I'm warning you. What's the matter? Getting triggered? That's how you know this is from 2014, saying that. Yeah, this was very impressive. We sped it up, and then we do this. Yeah, we sped it up, but that was very, very rehearsed. Same with this. And that was all Tesler's idea. He really elevated this, honestly. Man, I remember that Suburban. Yeah, we don't have that anymore. So yeah, it was in the script. It was always not see Germany. I love this role. Yeah, that got a lot of laughs. I remember it was always not see Germany. So that wasn't just something we made up. So when he says it there, if it sounds a little weird, yeah, it's because he is actually saying not see Germany. Okay, so here, the reason why the subtitles are jumbled like that is because the editor did not realize that the film was going to be in 4:3. And so then the editor had to kind of quickly crunch the subtitles back like that so they would fit in the frame. So that's why they kind of overlap. And as for my German, my flawless German, yeah, it's just me kind of speaking gibberish, trying to quote scenes from Downfall. Yeah, very proud of this scene. The lighting, it was literally just a lamp. You can actually see it in the back. It was just a lamp right underneath me with the top taken off. And yes, that is electrical tape for the mustache, which is very funny. Very funny. I think it's really ironic that I have just like a Jufro playing Hitler. And, you know, like, I didn't even try. I could have slicked it back, you know, but I felt like that wouldn't have been funny. I think it's funnier if he just has this Jufro, you know. Same with, like, I could have used a real armband, but that would have been kind of weird. I think it's just funnier if it's just really crappy looking, you know. So I didn't have like an old-timey wheelchair, so I just brought this chair in from the patio, and just had a blanket over it so you can't really see that it doesn't have wheels. I kind of mess up here and I move my legs a little bit, yeah, and then a little bit of a zoom to kind of. I really don't know why my inflection was like that. This actually is a direct reference to Leon the Professional. When I say everyone, he goes, everyone, everyone. Yeah, that's straight from Leon the Professional. I didn't know this was going to be sped up, but I think it's funny, so whatever. Okay, this is a very big mistake. So I told the editor, yeah, use this song from Duck Soup by the Marx Bros, but he used the wrong part of the song. So we're supposed to be like, to war, oh, Heidi, 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 ho. He just totally messed up. But you know what? It works still, but it still is kind of annoying. But yeah, a few little quirks like that. That cane, I don't know where that cane went, but I just found it at a thrift shop. And I think it was actually historical that FDR would sometimes stand with a cane. So, you know, we're trying to be really historical here. Yeah, I love awkward title drops. For example, like Hot Tub Time Machine and stuff, the kind of self-aware ones. The Gmod sequences were done by the editor, and I can't say anything but positive things about them. I think it's really funny. They're just totally, you know, 16:9 color. Doesn't make any sense at all. Like, we could have used Day of Defeats, but again, it just wouldn't be funny. You know, like Day of Defeat models, that's a World War II game. Yeah, this was, you know, this was before. Well, I think Source Filmmaker was around, but we just, like, didn't have the experience with it. This is my favorite part. The guy just goes flying out. And then, yeah, it just shows it again. I don't know. I love that. And that one actually was a World War II soldier. Like, the only one we actually used. I gave him no real directions. So the rabbit mask, we just found it, and we thought it would be funny to put it on. The reason why we're making fun of this specifically is because Downtown Brown, our teacher, told us that was his favorite movie. So that's why he says, my favorite movie, and I laugh. I don't know why there's that flash right there. That was an editing mistake. This right there, that was so hard to do without all of us laughing. That was like the 5th take, I think. I love this digital zoom right into his face. The delivery is so great. He kind of flubs his line here, but it's fine. He said in their abode, so in your abode, or whatever. This was controversial. This was quite controversial. Among many things, you're going to kind of notice there's kind of a weird anti-American, but the blocking here is really good. I love that I'm in the dark. That was actually unplanned. So the Hello Kitty thing was from one of my nieces, and then that kimono was just mine. Yeah, Filthy Frank was popular at the time, as you can tell. So the man who plays Hirohito, Matthew Ronculo, he also was the cinematographer, and we used his camera, actually. It was his idea, in fact, to make the film 4:3 and in black and white, and that really adds a lot to it. And I remember when cheapest effect in the world, just shake the camera. But I remember when we showed this, Downtown Brown, the first thing he said, he told us, like, have you ever seen an Ed Wood film? It reminded me of that. And I think the 4:3 black and white really is the reason why. Oh, here comes another roll for me. Yeah, so we don't use the muzzle flash effects, and the reason why is simply because we just didn't know how to do it, right? That's my character. We called him Commander L, and then this again. So this was actually just like different takes. We never intended to have both of them in, but we figured why not? And of course, an antlion. Why not? Right? It was. I did not know that he was gonna put an antlion in it, the editor, but it's funny. So we shot. This was at another friend's house. If you recognize this from Epic of Epicness, yeah. But there's really funny continuity, because we wanted to shoot this at my house, but we just didn't. We thought this was a better environment, and we actually needed the friend that lives here. Yeah, so this was supposed to be earlier, but whatever. Love that I'm facing myself. That's, like, really funny. But anyways, yeah, so I think the reason why we moved to the other house is for that reason. Because we needed the other actor in. So that was supposed to be sped up, but whatever. I love this. Looks great. Looks great. So continuity error coming up. When he says we've got guns, then Troy is standing next to him. Because again, this was supposed to be earlier. Like, it really was just not planned well. So this is the big one. So there's a missing scene where he hits himself in the nuts. And we just lost that footage. I love it. It goes into 16:9 color. The reason why is because we used a different camera, because my friend had to leave. But the reason why, because I got asked this, why does the camera change? And I said, because shit got real. Which, of course, you know, is bullshit. It's ironic that when I'm Hitler, I'm wearing a Marine jacket. It's little things like that maybe, like, you wouldn't even know, right? But it just made it a lot funnier to me. This was really hard to do with a straight face when he says, I will always love you for what you did for me, Hitler. You can see he's trying so hard not to laugh, and he doesn't even really want to say it. So this is another editing mistake. He was supposed to do this flex and explosion after he gets shot. So it's kind of funny, like, bullets really do nothing in these movies. Except for when Osama gets shot into. This, I'm very proud of this. I'm very proud of this. That's a Fly reference. Here we go. Is the big werewolf transformation. So that mask was actually very small. That was a children's costume that I actually had when I was young. I knew you could walk. That's the thing that surprises him. Yeah, Jojo. As you can see, it's like barely fitting on my head at that point. This was so much fun, but we did kind of mess some stuff up. I did get kind of hurt in this. I could barely see. You can see I'm like trying to put the mask back on. He told me he was going to pick me up. That was fine. We did it kind of slow. I love the growls. The growls sound so good. We kind of shot this for too long, and it gets quite dark, as you can tell, because we used like multiple takes, you know, but the actual choreography, like, it was fairly planned. Like, okay, I'm gonna throw you here, you're gonna bite me here, right? There's a missing clip here where he was supposed to do like a cartwheel, and then, anyways, that's supposed to be, yeah, it's messed up, the order. Anyways, this actually really hurt coming up. He throws me on the ground and pulls on it, and I was actually getting strangled there. There's Jack. So whenever a guy's wearing sunglasses, it's usually because he's reading the scripts, right? He's really great in this. He's always really great. So here comes the last explanation of the 3 branches of power. Again, delivered kind of stilted because this was, you know, an educational project. And it's a good explanation, too. Because really the whole thing, you know, the president makes an unconstitutional law, and then, you know, the Supreme Court decides that it's unconstitutional. Like the Christmas decorations in the background. The fourth wall breaks were not planned, actually. I was getting a little too close to him, and that's why it's a Dark Knight Rises reference right there. That I was very proud of, because I wanted to do the dolly zoom type effect from Jaws. So he backed up while he zoomed in. We always thought that we could do a sequel. That's why I have that line there. The reason being is that this was a one semester class. So that means another group of friends that would have him in semester 2. Then it was like, oh, we could do a sequel, maybe. And there we go. He's going to be a high school teacher. That's another, we tried to do another type of dolly zoom there. The scratcher was completely unplanned. He just grabbed it. Love that shirt on him. So this coming up is a cameo from the real Downton Brown. We didn't tell him what the project was. We just said, can we film you for this one little clip? And then that was it. And that was actually, I think, the first thing that we shot. 100+ years later. That's really funny because it obviously does not line up with real life and then also the sequels, right? We kind of like always wanted to break continuity. Oh boy, so World War Brown 2. This was a tough one. To date, the hardest thing that I've ever done. This was like my Apocalypse Now. So that was for a few reasons. Number one was that he changed the rules, Downtown Brown. So he put a time limit. He put like, this was an inspect element I did on an article about Ghost Shadow Watchmen. But he put like a time limit, and he said like you had to be very specific about what you were talking about, the 3 branches of government. And so it became really hard to do a sequel because it was like, I believe, a 5-minute limit. What we ended up doing, this is a clip from Postal, and I apologize, the aspect ratio is kind of messed up here. I'm using the original footage, the original file, and this was an error that we fixed later. We made this scene back to the regular 60:9. Yeah, so that right there, the little flash, that was a mistake on my part. I was an editor on this one, actually. So what happened was, the quality here is bad because I was just filming on my phone, just for this scene. But anyways, the problem was we had a 5-minute limit. So what we did is we split the footage up into 3 different parts, and 3 different groups turned it in, and he was not happy about that. We were able to shoot here, thankfully. Downtown Brown was really nice about that. Josh Santini, man, he's gone on to do some really great things. But anyways, yeah, so that you could see the little flash of the part 1, right? And so that's why, like, this one, it's very weird, right? Because it was originally episodic. That's why the title drop, it's the one time we could get Downtown Brown. So that's why the title drop is in the halfway, because that was part 2, and I like that title sequence the most. Yeah, he's reading the script here. So the secret ingredient was Max and Oliver, because they're twins, and that's very important later. If you've seen it, you know. But with World War Brown 2, we considered doing like Vietnam War, we considered doing something else, and ultimately I went with the War on Terror for a couple reasons. Number one, I wanted, you know, because I was edgy, I wanted World War Brown to kind of offend people, and people weren't really offended. So I thought, like, you know, 9/11, War on Terror, Jihad, like that would be a lot more offensive. The other thing was I just like really fucking hated George W. Bush, and I wanted to just make like a slander piece of him, of Patriot Act, of all that stuff. So even though, like, you know, watching this now, you can kind of think like, ooh, this one's really rough, dude. Well, you have to remember that the twist in this is it turns out that, you know, Bush is the villain. And so a lot of this we were really being satirical and really preying on, you know, stereotypes of Al-Qaeda and stuff from this era. It's actually quite ahead of its time in that sense, I think. So, you know, we got my good friend Gobin. Um, we thought it'd be really funny because he already has a turban, but he's Sikh, right? And so we literally made him a towel head. This was I believe a webm I got from like GIF or something. I didn't do that editing myself. And yeah, so that's why, and the towel actually changes multiple times. This is a hint of the plot twist where Osama bin Laden basically gives a hint that he's really just trying to blow up things so he can make offensive jokes about them. It's not really about the Holy War or anything. This was a pretty cool scene. You can see it's pretty funny, a lot of the props and even pages of the script just on the floor, right? Because we would just kind of look at the pages, okay, this is our lines, and then we would just shoot, right? Love that. So I edited this, actually, but I had my editor from World War 1 just kind of go into, like, After Effects and touch up a few things. But in terms of, like, you know, audio, that was all me. Editing, that like transitions, that was all me. You can see the transitions are a lot less flashy, which is fine because I didn't, you know, the dissolves were cool in 1, but that's not really what I needed from this, you know. So this was really fun. This was, you know, I got into JoJo really heavily during this era, so there's a lot of JoJo stuff here, including he's gonna say Aura Aura pretty soon, or yeah, right there. So he actually was not a JoJo fan, so he would kind of mess up the delivery there. Yeah, so that actually kind of comes back in the epilogue. Yeah, Max was really good in this, man. He was really... We never really worked with him before, but he's so great in this. Okay, so coming up is the end of part 1, I believe. So yeah, we considered doing Vietnam. I actually wrote a little bit of a script for what would be Vietnam. So originally we wanted him to actually like find a note, but we couldn't do that. We didn't have time or something, and so we just literally went to the script to show the notes. And honestly, that was kind of funnier. You can see Hugo up there, and I think maybe Matthew. So Matthew was the DP again for a lot of it, but a lot of this was also me. And yeah, so this was like a really tough one for me. I really stepped up. You know, I was editor, I was part DP, and it was just a lot. There was a lot of stuff I didn't know, stuff I didn't plan. This was a really grueling set. I mean, we even broke a few things. Tesla broke his phone. I broke a sandal. You can actually see those moments happen. So this is really annoying, but I just made it very annoying on purpose because I just really didn't like how he was changing the rules. So I was like, okay, you didn't like my explanations before. Okay, I'm just literally going to read Wikipedia now. Yeah, it was very annoying. And frankly, my heart was not in it in this aspect. I just really wanted to tell the story. I think the story in World War Brown 2 is like quite ambitious, although it kind of falls apart at the end, and I'll kind of talk about that. But yeah, it's a roundabouts playing here because this actually was leading into the credits for part 1, and it's kind of funny because then here it just kind of abruptly stops. The roundabout, I mean. He kind of Max. I mean, he kind of messed up there. He almost said his line too early, but it's fine, you know. So the Gmod sequences were once again done by the editor from World War Brown 1. All I told him, I was like, hey, just make a helicopter crash. And he did this. And I think it's actually very funny. And then, of course, why not? He added the ant lion. He just couldn't help himself, man. He loved those ant lions. This one, I thought it was like, we really didn't need the ant lion. But at this point, it's like tradition, I guess. Yeah, it's a roundabouts. Resumes here. You can see up there. That's in a way kind of foreshadowing, unintentionally, because later on in this, George Bush gets the ability to clone himself, and his twin was there. This was when my niece was living with me, so we just had all this crap. We thought it'd be funny, and so I just handed Gobin the Stitch plushie just for that shot. I just thought it'd be really funny. It's not a Middle Eastern story if you don't have some, you know, Black Hawk Down music. I think that's where that's from. Oh, no, that comes later, I think. Yeah, this is that song, yeah. Which is funny, because it's, you know, not even Middle Eastern, really. Again, it was very intentional. a lot of that came from Gobin getting mistaken from being Muslim, even by my older sister. You can see the exact moment I got into Steel Ball Run, and it's right here because I do the whole corpse part thing. Man, that big TV in the background, man, that was a lot of memories, man. That's how I beat Resident Evil 1, was on that, on GameCube. But I'm kind of getting away from the points. Yeah, I messed up there, kind of twitched, but whatever. That doesn't even make sense, because my skull's supposed to be missing, but then my head is there. I just, like, if my head wasn't there, it wouldn't be recognizable as FDR. Maybe there was a better way, but, you know. Oh, this was unplanned. The shirt actually falls off of my face. Yeah, and you can see some of the graphic tee on the side. I think that was like an Ash versus Evil Dead shirt, maybe, that I just put on my head. Yeah. Yeah, right here is the credits sequence halfway through the frickin' movie. Because again, you know, this was supposed to be the beginning of part 2, you know. And once you realize that it does have that kind of episodic sequence. So the reason why the audio is kind of weird right there is because this originally said World War Brown 2 Part 2, and I replaced it with another title card. Yeah, so coming up here pretty soon is when Tesla actually broke his phone. Oh, once again, yeah, Poncho Man, Mr. Exposition comes. This time it was Hugo, and it was Hugo actually who had this class. So this was like his part of the project, and then I believe Max was another parts, and then someone else. I like Max is like zoning out right there, and he looks at the camera, laughs, so we zoom in onto him. Yeah, this was Matt shot this. Yeah, and man, it's kind of hard to hear, but after he hangs up, he says Glendora got bombed. It's very quiet. And so at the end of this, he gets really mad and he throws his phone on the ground. And he said he was going to, and I told him, you don't have to do that. Yeah, right there. He actually broke his phone. And I told him, you don't have to do that. And he just went for it, man. Like, you can see the poncho on the floor in the back. Tesla, man, he just threw himself into this. He wasn't even upset. Like, he basically told me, like, yeah, I wanted to replace that phone anyways. I think it was like an old ass, it might have even been a flip phone or something. Gotta have Metal Gear. It was always the plan to use my garage as like the terrorist cave. Doe, how you doing with me? That was a Toy Story reference. Here comes the worst fucking thing I've ever done, is put on this damn dress. And this was because, like, we didn't know, like, any females that were willing to do this. Because, you know, if you've seen this before, it's a little crazy what happens. And so it was like, well, who's gonna play the daughter? And everyone just kind of looked at me. So I was, like, the skinniest one or whatever. And so I was like, alright, whatever, man. I hated this. I hated wearing that dress. It felt awful. But here it is. So the big reveal that Bush is actually the villain. That was like really ahead of my time, I think. And that really... yeah, World War Brown 2 got a very weird reception, of course. People just... They were like, what the... First of all, they were like, you're really doing a sequel? What the hell? So, of course. But, you know, this was Glendora, right? So to like have Bush be like, this much slander against him, this is probably the only time that bullets actually do something in all of these movies. Usually bullets get fired and then like nothing happens. I just wish we did. Oh, here we go. So I trip right there for real, and I actually broke my sandal, and that made me pretty upset. He kind of hurt me there. That you could see actually Oliver, Max's twin, standing there. That was unplanned. Yeah, that was yeah, I was like, okay, I'm going to hide it here. Be very careful. It's supposed to be it's coming out of my womb. This was a big meme with my friends for a while. This specific... Yeah, that right there. That specific screenshot. I'm actually quite impressed with how well Max delivers this speech. That was really cool. Obviously inspired by Far Cry 3. You know, a lot of these are just kind of like, what was I into? Or what was popular at the time? And then... Again, he kind of flubs this line when he says, relinquish my humanity. That was supposed to be like a Dio Brando reference. He says it very quietly, but even though it's quiet, like, he's so good. You can hear, literally, Matt, like, grinding the camera as it zooms in and out, in and out. He really, and the focus is bad here, but whatever. He's so good in this, and this really blows people's minds because like people that watch this now, they don't know that this guy Max had a twin. I'm so happy to leave. And I have one more scene as the daughter, but I was like, I'm not putting the dress back on, so I just wear a towel. Yeah, so people didn't know that there was a twin, and so I had people ask like, how did you do that? And then as for that, well, you know, let's just have Hugo. He, you know, it's an alternate Bush. He doesn't have to look like him. As long as we have at least one that looks like him, I was happy. Here's another role as Redneck Bush, and yeah, that tail. I don't even remember where that was from. It was not mine, okay? I was not into that shit. Just want to make the record clear. Hugo loved being Judicial Bush. And that's funny because he was kind of a string being at the time. And he's putting on this big machismo. And now he's really big. This was really great. We had to really coordinate this. And we synced up really well. So this is where the movie kind of falls apart though. Because I was like, this is a really overpowered ability. And it's like, how do we beat him? I'm very proud of this. This like slow kind of 360. I guess it's not quite a 360. Again, man, he drops the Texan accent, unfortunately, but it's whatever, honestly. So it's supposed to be he like cracks his skull and dies, and then another one pops out there. It's a simple effect, you know, but it actually was very good. Yeah, direct reference to Phantom Blood right there. He actually coughed for real. You can see the camera right there, awesome. This was supposed to be like Stardust Crusaders-esque kind of lineup. So again, it's like we really had no idea what to do. So we even consider like, does Danton Brown just die? Obviously, we were like, no, we can't do that, right? And so then literally, I just like thought of, oh, here's a Deliverance reference. Could squeal like a high school teacher. So eventually, I was like, well, I have these problems with this premise. Let's just address that. And so it's this fallacy, right, of, hey, wait, if there's infinite universes, and there's got to be universes in which you don't exist, and that causes them all to kind of just freak out and die, or get weakened at least for Bush Prime. I think he was actually called Bush Prime in the script. We never actually refer to him that way. We kind of didn't know when to cut here. This was all improvised. Again, like I did not really have an ending written. So, because I just couldn't think of one. So a lot of this was really ad-lib. And it was me kind of just explaining to Tesla, hey, you know, let's do this. And he gets weakened. And then you just fucking kill him, you know? Yeah, and then I love this. It's a nice little subtle effect. And then you pan down and we're not there. And it's like, what? And the cuts are actually like, you know, they could have been handled better, but they're pretty good. Again, great acting from Max. Like, he really is, like, the soul of World War Brown 2. And even though World War Brown 2, like, is not exactly what I wanted it to be, we had a whole other script written. Like, seriously, it was originally... Oh, gosh. Originally, there was, like, SEAL Team 6 was a big part of it, and there was, like, a big fight in the desert, and we were actually going to go to a desert, and then everything changed, you know? These credits are, like, absurdly long, and really it was just because I wanted... Frankly, I just wanted this to be, like, 20 minutes. Right? Because the first one was like, 16, 17... this is kind of a funny joke, Muhammad and then Mohammed. The henchman, implying that it's like a specific henchman. That's pretty funny. Still directed and written by Eric Lees. Yeah, filmed by... Although I did film a bit of this too. Special thanks to Don... Yeah, for real. Rest in peace, Josh's phone, Eric Sandel. Hugo's suit, that's right. Yeah, because... I believe Max was wearing Hugo's suit, and he actually did rip a hole in it during one of the fights. Hugo was really upset by that. So this, oh boy, so originally this was supposed to be, because we heard that there was going to be 2 video projects. That's why it says quarter. There's gonna be 2 video projects. So we thought, all right, here we go. Let's do a third one. But the thing is like, we didn't know what it was gonna be about, right? Because obviously it wouldn't be about the 3 branches again, right? And so I just had this general script idea for it's Citizen Brown, The Last Temptation of Brown, and it would have been Downtown Brown running for president. I figured it'd be something still about government, right? This was really great. This was the first time I ever saw Goman without his turban, I think. He actually mutters right there. He's like, God damn it. He kind of slips. The nuke, WMD, although you can't really see it that well. It's green and pink, because that was supposed to be like a reference to the 4chan Daily Dose meme. I like this, is it kind of like puts a loop on everything, even though, again, the timeline doesn't make sense. But it's like, you know, World War Brown 1 started with this bomb exploding, and it was never explained, right? And then World War Brown 2, oh, now we know where it came from. And I thought that was, like, really funny. And so now we have World War Brown 2.5. So, you know, 3, when we found out what 3, like, the video project was, it was about court, specifically, and about, like, a famous court case. So, like, well, fuck, we can't do Citizen Brown anymore. So... so this was inspired by Crank and Crank 2, actually. So the way that Crank 2 just begins right after Crank 1, I wanted to do something like that. So we really matched that up well. That was not planned at all. But yeah, 2.5, I mean, we tried. I'm not very proud of this one, although there's some good ideas here. In terms of filmmaking, I think this is actually fairly strong, because a lot of it is just in one place, you know. And it's because of that we're like, here's like a POV, like how cool is that? You know, Hugo really wanted to do this kind of like 80s, like, ooh, shot louder. He wanted to do this kind of 80s, like, kind of voice. That's why he's doing that. Nice little pratfall from Tesla. I still don't really know what he meant by that. This was more Hugo's projects. I mean, I wrote it, obviously, but I let him have a lot more, right? Because this was about court, and he was Judicial Bush. So we were like, well, let's bring Judicial Bush back, right? So again, you know, glasses equals reading scripts. That's a common thing. And so this isn't even about the Brown versus Board of Education. We just called it that because it was like the perfect pun, right? Yeah, and so we just kind of made it into about like courts, amendments, things like that. But it's not like, we really didn't try on this one at all, because honestly I was pretty angry at Downtown Brown. And it's like, look, I get it. We were really fucking edgy and stupid, and we were like just kind of trying to piss him off, but you know, he like completely changed everything, because it was literally because of us, you know. See, like, we're mentioning amendments a lot in this one. Abraham Steinberg, yeah, as a persecutor instead of prosecutor. That was intentional, and it's like very obviously it's FDR. I have different glasses, but that's about it. I thought it'd be really funny if it was just like, oh wait, this is literally just FDR. Man, I was young. Wow. It's really crazy to see me like this. Same exact suit, same exact button down. I actually wore that button down a lot. I wore oversized button downs a lot in high school. That was kind of my style. I got that hat in Puerto Vallarta, I believe, when I was on a Disney cruise. That was about a year before this. Bare arms, yeah. Yeah, as you can tell, I don't really have too much to say about, like, the story in this one. But I was trying different things. I mean, like, some weird angles in this, you know? Like, I thought, like, I think 2.5, I mean, again, I made it kind of shitty on purpose. Bad script writing, he looks at the camera, yeah. And yes, that's the script in there, yes. The red sweater thing was actually not planned at all. He just showed up every day with the red sweater, and it was like, well, I guess this is his outfit. And Downtown Brown, you know, the real guy doesn't doesn't dress like that at all. This suit now, it's reminding me of, I think, Great Teacher Onizuka. I'm pretty sure Great Teacher Onizuka has a blue shirt and white jacket. That was not planned. Nice little zoom there. Good acting. Kill Blinton. I wanted Kill Blinton to actually be like a character in the next one. Nice fart effect. I believe I used that fart effect again in Taming of the Shrimp. Pretty sure. Yeah, Taking Revenge of the Video Link. Yeah, because the script was very short for this. I like his acting here. I don't know why. The way he says guilty and the way I zoom in, his like grimace, that's like really good. Bookwork, being an overall twerp. Yeah. Again, this is kind of like my Metal Gear Solid 4 in a sense, because it kind of ruins World War Brown 2, and it was made with kind of spite because of, you know, wrongs, perceived wrongs against me, the creator. I'm actually kind of appreciating this more than when I other times. This is my least watched one. And then yeah, of course I'm FDR, right? And then it's like, oh, what's the thing that will make me recognizable? The stupid paintbrush that I put. It's supposed to be like a long cigarette holder. I didn't say this in World War Brown 1, but I don't really have much to say, so I'll say it here. One of my main inspirations for this was this movie called FDR American Badass, which, well, I didn't have the paintbrush, so I just had like a straw. But FDR American Badass, it's kind of a shitty movie, but it's a throwback to the first one. Nice little parallel. But it's actually a really funny movie. Like, it's genuinely, that's me again. It's actually a very funny movie, and in that, like, a werewolf, there's like werewolves in it, so that's why FDR is a werewolf in this, and so on. And I based my overall look on FDR in that. He was played by Barry Bostwick, who is Brad from Rocky Horror. I'm really proud of this one take, man. I was really into one takes at the time, and it was because, and it's not really a one take, but Kingsman: The Secret Service was out the year before. And, you know, because I was like an edgy teen, I liked that movie. I've grown to like that movie a lot less now. Nice little tour of my house, by the way. Gosh, that garage is completely different now. Mad World by Donnie Darko, of course. Gotta represent Donnie Darko. Yeah, I'm really proud of this. This was actually like, quite somber. We're like, holy shit, we're really killing him. You can see me in the reflection. I flubbed the line. I need a avenge. Clockwork Orange. This was an idea I always wanted to have, is FDR having like a big stick, literally, in tribute to Teddy Roosevelt. And actually, Teddy Roosevelt was going to be originally he was going to be a character in World War Brown 3. He was going to be played by Jack, who was at the end of World War Brown 1. I love this shot. I love that shot right there. It's so good. One take. Yeah, he never got to date the president's daughter. And then, yeah, it's like so emotional, actually. Man, some really interesting stuff going on here. So this was filmed in front of our high school. Yeah, and so the joke is you're in hell. And then, boom, right there. The subtitles are a lot worse because they were made by me. This was... I think this is the... yeah, that's why this is better. Because this was the first time, I think, that I was using Adobe Premiere Pro. Because I took a video editing class. And... oh, yeah, I'm literally explaining right now. Yeah, and that's another thing. Because it was like finals week, pretty much. Like the continuity error there. So the joke is that he is literally in hell because development hell, World War Brown 3. So I kind of made this to, yeah, you were going to die at the beginning of World War Brown 3, but like, so this was essentially just kind of simultaneously an epilogue to 2, and it was supposed to be a prologue to 3, which I never ended up making 3, unfortunately. Yeah, it seems like World War Brown 3 won't escape development hell. So the idea originally was I had a friend who was a junior but he died. What did I say? Died? Well, I'm thinking of Downside Brown. Yeah, at that point it was just like we were all graduated, and the video project. Maybe he didn't even assign the video project. I don't remember. We never did it. That was my good friend Da, played Mao Zedong. And yeah, you filthy Frank. He broke character there. In December, yeah, because, you know, that was supposed to be when the next video project was, and then we didn't. Those were my glasses, by the way. You can see us. We just had extra footage here. He actually could speak Chinese, but he just didn't want to because it was really hard for him to think of, like, gibberish. So, yeah, World War Bound 3, we never made it. I got close before with, a totally different script, and was actually quite ambitious, but it was just too much. But anyways, this was a lot of fun. I'll do more later. All right, take care.